U.S. troops stationed in bases in Iraq and Syria have been attacked more than 100 times by Iranian-backed militias. But this time, 3 U.S. service members were injured. The White House issued a statement defending the counterattack as necessary for the protection of American personnel, adding, "The United States will act at a time and in a manner of our choosing should these attacks continue." For more now on U.S. strategy, we want to bring in ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy. Hey, Mick.
Hey, Juju. Good to be with you.
Thanks for joining us. First off, Mick, especially if attacks by Kataib Hezbollah continue, how does the U.S. deal with this situation without expanding the conflict even further?
So that is the dilemma here. The United States moved more assets to the region as a way to deter Iran so that the war wouldn't expand. But of course, it also gives more targets. And Iran uses what's called proxy forces. So Kataib Hezbollah, for example, is supported by Iran. And in many ways, Iran, through the IRGC Quds Force, can't tell them what to do. So it looks like they're trying to push the United States to respond, or push the United States, quite frankly, out of Iraq and out of our positions in Syria. Things that Iran would want to do, but the United States absolutely does not. It's not in our national security interest. So the United States has to decide how to do this without escalating too far.
But given Iran's proxy involvement, how does the Biden administration hit back at the militants while not further inflaming the tensions with Iran directly?
Yeah, so I think what they're trying to do is keep it limited in space and duration, essentially. So if they're attacked, then they will respond to the individuals or the group that launched the attack. And at the same time, they will take out as much as they can of the arsenal of these groups so that they can't continuously do this. It will limit in as far as the length of it and the duration, but it will hopefully not expand it beyond that. And that's something that I think we've seen over and over again. I don't think it's going to stop the Iranian proxies from attacking us. We've seen over 100, obviously, since mid-October. But I do think it might prevent this from turning into a substantially enlarged conflict outside of Israel.
I want to turn now to talk about the war in Gaza specifically, because we know that Iranian-backed militant attacks have intensified as the U.S. continues to support Israel's war in Gaza. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said Israel's goals are to destroy Hamas, demilitarize and de-radicalize Gaza. But are you concerned that with all of the families who've been torn apart and the widespread death and destruction in Gaza, that the result might actually inspire a new generation of radicals in Gaza?
The U.S. supports Israel's goal in the military destruction of Hamas, but it's how you do it. So you can create a lot more radicalization, if you will, by how you go about conducting combat operations. If there's a large amount of civilians that are killed, that can create a whole nother generation of Hamas, quite frankly. There's about 2.2 to 2.3 million Palestinians living in Gaza. Right now, only 40,000 of them are in Hamas. So that's one of the reasons why the Pentagon, all the way up to the Secretary of State and the President, have been talking to Israel about conducting this in a much more precise manner, using intelligence, driven by intelligence, using special operations, and really trying to use the precision-guided munitions.
So that you don't win the battle and lose the war. But looking back at the aftermath on the global war on terrorism, the U.S. went after al-Qaeda, which then branched out into all these affiliated groups, as you mentioned, including ISIS and the Islamic State. Is there any way to prevent Hamas from metastasizing further after the dust settles in this conflict?
To your point, we started with al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda in Iraq turned to ISIS, which was 2 countries, and now ISIS is in over 33 countries. So although we did a lot to diminish the leadership, we did a lot to diminish their capacity, we defeated ISIS in Iraq and Syria, it did not end the ideology. And Hamas, just by resisting to this point, is gaining support in the jihadist movement. So it will likely expand. The radicalization part, although obviously we would all like to see that happen, is very, very difficult, and it's unlikely to happen, especially as this war continues.
Clearly a fraught situation. Mick Mulroy, thank you, as always.
Thanks, Juju.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.